So you've made up your mind. You're gonna buy your first luxury watch. Here are a couple easy tips that'll make it so much easier for you to pull the trigger. So pretty much do your homework. You know, bigger is not always better. Just because it's an enormous establishment doesn't necessarily mean that it's the best choice. You kind of got to feel it out yourself. One of the best ways to get a good feel for a store is also recommendations. Ask around, you know, ask a couple people that have a nice watch and ask where they bought it from and how was their experience. But when all hell fails and you don't have no one else to ask, remember, you always have Google, Yelp, etc. You have social media. There's many ways to research a company and make sure that they're a legitimate establishment and that will follow through with anything that can happen, you know. Many things happen in the watch world, so there's no reason to be discouraged by that. You just got to make sure you're buying from a legitimate place, not a fly-by-night watch dealer. Second thing I want to mention is don't get blinded by the authorized dealers, okay? I know for some guys, and there's nothing wrong with that, you know, they like the warm, fuzzy feeling of walking in to the large authorized dealer and getting the full experience with the champagne glass and the Vaseline. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing. Some people just simply want to buy there only. That's it. And that's okay. I respect that. You know, I was like that myself at one point. But don't get blinded by the authorized dealers. They're always gonna say things to kind of deter you from going and buying secondhand watches or gray market watches or stuff of that nature. Because imagine, you know, they're selling at full retail. There's not much you can do there. That's the only thing that they have to offer, is that they sell brand new and that you're buying from the authorized dealer. For some of you, that might be just exactly what you need for your first watch. If that's what it is, fine. Some of you guys don't live in major cities where perhaps maybe, you know, these smaller secondhand dealers or, you know, reseller jewelers are not available. And I understand that. But you know, don't make it like so concrete, like it has to be in an authorized dealer, because for me that's just, you know, let me just tell you, man, even authorized dealers have bad reputations. Okay, just because someone might have a line and might carry a manufacturer's brand doesn't mean they're the best. They might have terrible customer service. They might have some butcher watchmakers working there, where you might think when you send your watch for repair, they're sending it back to the factory, but they're really sending it to a guy in the back with a jigsaw. You know, so just keep that in mind. You know, you got to do your homework, got to ask around, get different opinions, because in my personal opinion, you can always get a better deal from a reputable reseller, and the key word there is reputable. So we get to the third thing is, you know, internet versus brick and mortar stores. Look, there's many fantastic deals out on the internet. And when I mean an internet, I mean an actual e-commerce site where you can go in, click buy now. I'm kind of iffy about that at times. Yes, there are many reputable internet stores where you can buy merchandise and they're, you know, guaranteed. There's no games, no gimmicks. I'm just kind of more like a person where I like to kind of feel the watch and see it in person. That's just my way of thinking. And you know what? Many brick and mortar stores do sell on the internet also. But if you're gonna buy through an exclusive internet store, ask a lot of questions. Ask, what's the return policy? Again, let's go back to the first thing. Number one, buy the seller. Do your homework on that brand. See the reviews. See if anybody recommends them. Ask about the return policy. Another thing, if you're buying it and it's an unworn, you know, new watch, but unworn, okay, make sure that you're getting the guarantee, because I've seen many websites where they'll sell you a watch as new, unworn, whatever you want to call it. It's the same thing, you know, if it hasn't been worn. But you're paying, you're getting a discount, but you're paying a little bit more than a pre-owned, but you're not getting the guarantee, the original warranty from the brand. I mean, me personally, if I'm gonna be paying that type of dollar, I guess I just want, all the little things. For that, I just buy a pre-owned and just give me the watch alone. I'm not so crazy about box and papers. I've had this conversation before. Yes, there are some watches that you want the box and papers. But you know what? For a first-time Rolex, under $10,000, if you want that box and papers and all that to give you the first experience, I get it, man. I'm into that. But you know what? If you're getting a good price and you're buying with confidence, don't even sweat it. But internet versus brick and mortar, it's complicated. I'm a bit more of a brick and mortar type of guy. But if you are gonna go to one of these internet stores, make sure you just ask many questions. A lot of those guys are available for you to speak to on the phone and answer any of your questions. If you can't get anybody on the phone to ask questions to, then that's kind of not a good sign, in my opinion. So keep a lookout for those kind of red flags that might bring up something to your attention. Fourth is the box and papers. I just mentioned this previously, but I want to focus on that for a second. Guys, box and papers does not make a watch 100% authentic. It doesn't mean that the watch is not stolen. It doesn't mean that the watch maybe perhaps wasn't handled incorrectly or damaged. So never use that as your, as the determining factor. I got people that call me all the time and that's all they ask is have the box and papers. Because I get it, when you're new to this and you haven't bought enough watches, the box and papers is that one little thing that kind of gives you that fuzzy, warm feeling. But if you're buying from somebody that has a reputation, okay, and they're guaranteeing you that the watch is authentic, 100%, you read all the reviews or you've had many recommendations, the price is good, they're even offering you a buyback price in the future, perhaps maybe you could trade it back in, which is also an important thing to me. You don't really need the box and papers. I can't tell you how many boxes I have and papers just sitting in a larger box somewhere in my closet. If it's a fancy Patek, or when you're already getting into the high-end watches, like really high, yes, it does make a difference, but the price will always reflect that. I don't mind buying a nice 5980 Patek without box and papers, as long as I'm getting it at a lot cheaper discount price. What I care mostly about is condition, price, and that I'm buying it from somebody I can trust. Okay, because that's one of the most important things. Never use box and papers to authenticate anything, including the seller. The fifth thing that I'm going to mention to me is the most important thing of all, and it's always get a receipt from your seller with the serial number of the watch printed on the receipt. It has to match, guys. You got to do your homework. You got to get the watch. On the Rolex, for example, it's going to be, if it's a newer model, the serial number is going to be on the bezel, engraved in the inner bezel. You want to make sure it matches the receipt, because anybody can write your receipt with a serial number and it could be the wrong receipt. Because when all else fails, that's the one thing that's going to protect your investment. If you're walking, this is just obviously random scenario, but if you're walking down the street and some guy starts accusing you that this is his watch and that you stole it from him, I don't know, maybe the guy does get the cops over there and they're trying to say, that's the one thing that's gonna prove that you bought the watch and who sold it to you, okay? That's the one thing that's gonna protect you from a watch being stolen, from a watch being fake, all those things. So that's the most important thing. Always get a receipt with the serial number. You gotta treat it like you're buying a car, almost like a bill of sale, I know it's kind of extreme, guys, but I try to treat it, especially if I'm in the $3,000 and up range. I treat it like if I'm buying a gun or a car. I like to get a bill of sale with the person's name. If you're buying it from a private, get the person's name. If you're buying it from the store, then obviously it has to be an invoice, but you get the serial number of the watch and the amount of money that's paid. Last but not least is find out what is the warranty and the return policy that you're getting. A lot of times when I sell a watch at the store and someone is sitting in front of me, they already had time to look at the watch. they already tried the watch on. So a lot of times, they gotta make that decision. If they're gonna return the watch, there has to be a legitimate reason why, because they had plenty of time, there's no pressure. If I'm shipping the watch to a client that's not in the store, first I'll provide many pictures of the watch so that they can see it first. But I do get it. Maybe they try it on, and when they like it, it just wasn't what they expected. So I do offer 100% money back guarantee for those type of deals. I can't have someone wear the watch to the Grammys and then return it on Monday, but those are kind of the things you want to ask. Many people ask me, what's the return policy? We discuss it, we go over it, that type of stuff. Warranty. You want to ask what type of warranty you get on the watch that you buy. If you're buying it, whether you're buying it in person at a brick and mortar or you're buying it from an online retailer, you want to ask what type of warranty you get. A lot of times they won't offer warranty on the outside, on the case, the bracelet, because let's face it, man, if you bash the freaking watch against the wall and break the glass, that's nobody's fault but yours. But little dumb things, which is part of customer service, is a pin falls out, stuff like that. Usually if they have a good reputation, they'll take care of it. But most will offer a warranty of at least 1 year on the mechanism. And guys, if it's not gonna have a problem in 1 year, then it's not gonna really have a problem. So 1 year is a good enough time to know you bought a good watch with no problem. So ask those questions. Those are the questions you wanna ask first. So keep that in mind when you're doing your homework for these watches. So if you have any other questions, feel free to comment on this video. Also, please like and share. My name is Eric. This is Watch Your Style.